Definitely for term limits, for the reasons that have been already outlined. And I'd like to add two more, especially when we focus on sub-Saharan Africa. So most of the sub-Saharan African states are multi-ethnic, or in cases like Somalia, they have clans, which requires some sense of power sharing across different ethnic groups or across different clans. And term limits allow for circulation of leadership across different groups, so that you don't have the same sets of elites controlling both the political sector and the economic sector through time. Because when that happens, that's when you lose this notion of new ideas cycling in, both in terms of public policy, but also on the economic side. And you can see, for example, what's happening now in Angola and what happened in Mozambique, or what's happening in Ethiopia, right? Nobody can say that the three countries are paragons of democracy, but we see what leadership change can do in terms of shifting countries in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Secondly, I think when you think about power, I think I tend to believe, as a political scientist, that there are no good leaders out there. What we have are constrained leaders, right? So you need leaders who are constrained, knowing that they have 10 years to rule, 5 or 10 years, and within that time they have to do what's necessary to secure their legacy. Such leaders are likely to behave well while in office. They will not abuse human rights because they know that there's an end date to their rule. Going back to FDR, FDR at the height of his power went as far as beginning to pack the Supreme Court, right, to get his way. So even in a democracy like the U.S., the notion that you can rule forever has this poisoning effect of infecting leaders to think that they can do whatever they want and get away with it.
What about a country like Libya and the brother leader, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, which never actually even had presidential elections, probably didn't even have a constitution for that matter. This is a man who actually ruled for 42 years. And there are a lot of people on the African continent who say that he actually was a sort of terrific leader.
Yes, so individuals are great, but individuals do not live forever. And so, ultimately systems win out. And I think that, when you think of Lee Kuan Yew, people tend to focus a lot on Lee Kuan Yew, the man, and not enough time is spent focusing on the system that he built. Mm-hmm. So part of the reason why Singapore endures is because of the system that was built around him, that survived him. First of all, Lee Kuan Yews are very rare, and so we shouldn't bank on, lucking out and getting a Lee Kuan Yew. And
he was a prime minister, by the way, not an elected president.
Yes. So,
what is the difference? Tell us about the difference between a parliamentary system and a presidential system, for example.
Because, I think that if you look at any successful leadership, be it, China or Singapore or even Botswana, whether they're democratic or not, there's always a system of accountability. The question is, how many people can hold the leader accountable? So I would argue that even under Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore was a dictatorship by committee. Yes, he was the face of it, but there was a system around it. The Communist Party is a system. It's moving towards a personalist rule now, which is a danger for China. But for a long time, it has been a system. Botswana was a system. And so even under dictatorship, systems tend to outdo personalist rule.
And under